young adult movie genre were treated like Lenny from A Mice and Men and shot in the back of the head, never to be seen again, it just keeps coming back. Everyone, you have heard me drone on about this time and time again, but of course I have to repeat it for you guys, otherwise people who are watching this for the first time won't know what I'm talking about. I hate the young adult movie genre. Hate every single one of them, except for a few. And it's not just the generic teen romance genre like Twilight, Beastly, or Mortal Instruments City of Bones. I'm talking about movies like Divergent, The Fifth Wave, where they just continuously recite the same old plot that we have seen from multiple young adult novel movies, where they have to have a young protagonist who has to lead an uprising against an old, evil white guy that contain mediocre to terrible dialogue, predictable moments in the plot, and characters that ranged from boring and generic to ones that make you want to crush up Uppy's skull. Now, of course, I do say that I hate the young adult movie genre, but that's not to say that I hate all of them. Because in my terminology, there are only 2 movies I actually do like from the young adult movie genre. One of them is Harry Potter, and the second one, shockingly enough, is the Maze Runner franchise. Now, of course, the Maze Runner franchise hasn't done anything particularly special or anything new and inventive in terms of storytelling, but in terms of just being a solid action movie, it's surprisingly decent. I actually really dug the first Maze Runner movie despite how incredibly weak the ending was. Again, it wasn't anything special, but I enjoyed it. And same applies with the second movie. However, does it apply with the final Maze Runner movie in the trilogy, Maze Runner: The Death Cure? Well, like always when I'm reviewing a movie, let's talk about it. So this movie basically takes place after the events of the second Maze Runner movie, where Thomas and Newt's friend Mino has been held captive by the Wicked Corporation. And Teresa, who is managing to follow the rest of the gang, unfortunately betrays the rest of the group only to team up with the Wicked Corporation to help cure the flare virus. So it's up to Thomas and the rest of the gang to do whatever it takes, not only to save their kidnapped friends, but to put an end to the evil Wicked Corporation and destroy it for good. Now this might as well be the very shortest review I can say for the Maze Runner movies, because basically the same pros and cons are what I had with the last movie, and as a matter of fact, the one before that. One of the things that really holds this movie together that I really liked throughout all 3 movies are the camaraderie between the characters and their performances. Because throughout the entire genre of the young adult adaptations, it's one of those rare few times where I actually do like the characters, where I love the sense of camaraderie that the characters have between each other, where the friendship that they have between each other feels genuine and real and not forced and cliched. And when some of the characters finally do reunite with each other, you get this gratifying sigh of relief. Not the sigh of relief where you're like, ugh, they're back again, thank God. No, you get the sigh of relief where you're like, finally, the band's back together again. And it sometimes has to do with the performances in the movie. For example, once again, Dylan O'Brien really does a good job at portraying the character of Thomas. He gives the character in his performance more determination and drive. And he does have a personality and a sense of humor like most of the characters in the movie. And I just want to say, Dylan O'Brien, thank God you had an amazing recovery. One of the reasons why I say this is because Dylan O'Brien, while on set, while doing particular stunts, sustained a terrible injury on set that could have killed him, which basically led to the delay of the film. So Dylan O'Brien, thank God you're okay. And to add to that, some of the chemistry and the camaraderie that Thomas has with some of the characters, especially Newt, provide one of the strongest and saddest moments of the film. And the reason why you do buy into their camaraderie is because of their performances. This is also a very well-directed movie. It doesn't really feel like a straight-to-television sci-fi channel movie. It doesn't really feel like Allegiant, where it's just incredibly cheaply made. It really feels like you're watching the final climax of the movie, where basically all hell is about to break loose, inside of a world that in and of itself is very decently designed. And of course, some of the biggest selling points of this entire movie are the action set pieces. The action scenes created by Wes Ball are very well crafted, they don't have a whole lot of shaky cam, they're not poorly choreographed, and they, to a certain extent, really serve some high stakes throughout the film. The best action scene throughout the entire movie is between the second and third act, and it feels like all hell is breaking loose and you're along for the ride. However, that doesn't stop Maze Runner from having the exact same flaws that it had with the last 2. In terms of actual storytelling, it kind of has the same entire beats as you would have with a Revolting or Revolution movie, or the same entire premise of a young adult novel movie, to where it's basically same movie, different scenario. There are some incredibly predictable moments in the movie, especially in the third act. And while there are some characters that you really can attach to because you've seen them throughout all 3 movies, some of the characters that you really could latch onto aren't really given much development or dimension to them. I mean, there are some characters like the main 4 characters, Thomas, Teresa, Minho, and Newt, and especially Frypan, but there are some characters in the movie that were basically shown in the second movie to where you're like, oh yeah, I remember you, but you still don't have much of a character yourself, and I can't really latch on to you. And those are kind of the moments that you would particularly have with this movie. Are the Maze Runner movies any special? No, they're not. Can you have a fun time with them while watching all 3 movies? Yes, you can. While also having nothing special in terms of storytelling, some predictable and cliched moments to where once you see the scene happening, you can see it coming a mile away. And while there are some characters that you really cannot latch onto, there are some characters that you do latch onto, that you really do care about, and their performances really do shine as well. It's very well directed, and the action scenes are pretty intense sometimes, especially in the second and third act. In my humble opinion, while also having a fun time with all 3 movies, I would still prefer the Maze Runner trilogy over the overhyped mediocrity known as the Hunger Games movies. That's right, I freaking went there. But in all honesty, opinions are opinions. So with that being said, I am going to give Maze Runner The Death Cure the same grade that I gave the last 2 movies, which was a 3 out of 5. Even though these movies aren't entirely special, I'd still recommend you watch these movies. They're a heck of a time to watch. Alright guys, that is my review of Maze Runner The Death Cure. Comment below, let me know what you thought about the movie. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And also, if you want to see more reviews like this, be sure to subscribe for more. My name is Luke Nukem, and you, my friends, have been blown away.